Right, just like all of my other videos, this is take two. So let's recount. This is Concrete Killer Smile #1. I bought this book off the rack back in 1994. At the time, I was buying most of my books out of the back of this used book shop, probably 30 minutes from here. Me and a couple of my buddies used to roll up there once, twice a week, maybe, and buy books. The odd thing about this shop was it was like there was a window in the back of the shop where you went to buy the comics. You weren't allowed to dig. They didn't have stuff hanging on the walls. The only reason why you would know that they sold comics in this little bitty used bookstore was because they had signs up all over the place that they sold comics. But there wasn't anything out there. And hopefully the person that was working at the shop that day had some vague semblance of what it was that you were looking for, or you weren't going to find it. So you walk up to the window and go, hey, you guys have, I don't know, Iron Man 73. And if they did, they'd go look. If they didn't, they'd tell you no. It was very interesting. But nonetheless, one day I'm in there and I pick up this book. I'm not sure how this book came to my attention. I was, of course, familiar with Dark Horse at the time. I had a vague semblance of Concrete. I've heard of Paul Chadwick at this point, but other than that, I had no idea. So I don't know if I asked for this book or if one of my friends asked for this book and I liked it, so I picked up a copy too. I'm not sure. But this was my book, or the book that started my my fascination with Concrete. Okay. Concrete's first appearance was in Dark Horse Presents #1. I do not own a copy of Dark Horse Presents #1, but I do have a copy of #2. The shop where I buy everything half off has a commemorative edition to Dark Horse #1, but I passed on it the last time I was there because I was thinking I might be able to find it somewhere else cheaper. I do that a lot, and then I usually just forget what it was I was looking for. Excuse me, but I make lists all the time. Sorry about the noise. We got some people over. They're doing like some arts and craft tie-dye thing upstairs. They sound like a bunch of elephants. Okay, so backstory on Concrete. Now, what happened was him and his brother, Concrete and his brother, were abducted by aliens. They have their brains removed from their body and put in these giant rock bodies. His brother decides he's going to stay with the aliens, and Concrete decides he's going to stay on Earth. Now, you're probably thinking, well, I'm not really that big of a science fiction fan, so this doesn't really sound like a book for me. But I assure you, after that point, it's not science fiction, other than the fact that this is our lead character. This guy and this giant indestructible body. He has no superpowers. He's strong. Of course he's strong. I mean, look at him. He's like 8 foot tall and weighs 600 pounds or whatever. So that's it from the science fiction standpoint. Most of this book addresses how either he perceives himself as related to everybody else or how everybody else perceives him. There are some social issues that are addressed in the book. Overpopulation, farming, corporate greed, that kind of thing. There's a really strong stance to a lot of Paul Chadwick stuff about subject matter that a lot of people don't address in comics. I should mention the art. And let me, here. This happens, well, yeah. This happens to be handy. So let's talk about this real quick. I'll give you a little glimpse of the interior. Well, this cover is awesome too, and we'll get back to this. This is Killer Smile #2. Here we go. So this is interior art, Paul Chadwick. Awesome stuff. Highly recommend it. He is a consummate storyteller. Nothing too flashy. He kind of brings it with some of his covers. This is probably one of my favorites. But yeah, we'll just leave that there for a second. Okay, where was I? So, let's just get to it. So we started with 1, which I didn't have. He's in 2. Cool beans. I'm going to move this too, so we can come back to it. And I'm trying this new tripod setup thing. Hopefully this works out. He's in 2. He makes an appearance in issue 3. I don't have 4. There's that handsome devil right there in issue 5. And Concrete is one of those characters where other people have drawn him, and I've seen other people draw Concrete, and it just doesn't really have the same feel. It just seems kind of, I don't know, like they don't quite get what to do with him as a character. Let's just roll through the rest of these. This is 6, 8, what is this? I can't read it. 12, I think. Oh yeah, 12. I'm a genius. Haha. There he is. 14, 18, and then 20. And the rest of my Dark Horse Presents are in another box. I don't want to dig through them. But this really doesn't have much to do with anything. This was just the first couple of issues of Dark Horse Presents that Concrete is in. He did have his own miniseries after his monumental debut in Dark Horse Presents. This is issue 1. Issue 2. This is where he tries to swim the transatlantic. He ends up, or the Atlantic, he tries, or he eventually gives up, not because he can't do it, but because the boat that's supporting him has problems and they have to turn back. There's a lot of unfulfilled kind of thing. He's a very lamented character. Issue 3, that's his brother. Those are the aliens. You get it. Issue 4. Issue 5. And in this one, he is a bodyguard for a pop singer who is suicidal. It's pretty interesting. Issue 6. Issue 7. He ends up growing these horn-looking appendages at one point. 8. And this is probably my favorite issue out of the miniseries. He solos Everest, which I always thought would kind of be cool, but I don't really think I would have the fortitude to do that. And then 10. Another gorgeous cover by Paul Chadwick. He also did some work on Why the Last Man. He did the art and a couple fill-in issues for that. Well, not really fill-in issues. It was a side story. And in Why, when they did side stories, they would bring in someone else to do the art. So it would be an easier way to differentiate the story between the lead story and then like the side story. Still, worth picking up. Earth Day Special number 90. I'm yet to read this. I have 2 copies of this book, and I still haven't read them. So, since his first miniseries and all the little the appearances in Dark Horse Presents, he's gone on and done quite a few miniseries. This is Fragile Creature. I don't have issue 2 or issue 1. It's one of the 2 or 3 books of Concrete that I'm missing. So if anybody out there has an extra copy, let me know. And I do not have 3. That's another one. But look, I mean, this is gorgeous. You can stare at this thing like all day, and then once you see the face and the rock, it's pretty much all you see. But yeah, I mean, Paul Chadwick is awesome. This is issue 4, because like I said, I don't have issue 3. And I haven't read that yet either, because I don't have issue 1 or issue 3. But if you go to Paul Chadwick's website, I think it's paulchadwick.com, he is super good about putting a lot of this stuff up digitally. It's not in color, it's all black and white. And that's probably my preferred way of enjoying Paul Chadwick's art. Not that the colors muddle anything, but it's just great just to see the straight up. His ink work is amazing. This is the full color special Concrete. I got 2 of these. So one of them will go in my prize box. Done. Concrete Electica, I think. E-C-L-E-C-T-I-C-A. This was a lot of fun. This was the first, I think, miniseries of his that I finished when I started collecting Concrete. And I also have 2 copies of this one, so that'll go in my prize box. Fragile Creature. Out of the miniseries, this is probably my favorite. And none of these books, with the exception of maybe Dark Horse Presents #1, are expensive. And Dark Horse Presents #1, you can probably find a copy of that for less than $5. So that's not that bad. But if you're looking for something that's character-driven, story-driven, with beautiful storytelling, then I can't recommend this enough. There's a lot of comics that are flashy just for the sake of being flashy, and that's fine if that's what you're into. And you know, I collect stuff like that too, so I have nothing against that. But if you're looking for something that, I don't want to sound like a putz here, but elevates comics a little bit further than the norm, then this is something I could recommend. Fragile Creature book, or part 3. I don't have 2. It's in my cart on mycomicshop.com. This is the Hero Special. This was a lot of fun too. I remember reading it. For the life of me, I couldn't tell you what it was. Human Dilemma. More. Paul Chadwick. There's just something about these covers. Sorry, I'm in awe. Every time I pull out my concrete stuff, I spend most of my time just like looking at it rather than reading it, because it's gorgeous. Sorry, I did it again. Issue 3, no 4, it's on its way. 5, and then 6. Very cool. Oh wait. So we're back to this. This gentleman here on the beard is his assistant. He is being kidnapped by the guy in the glasses and the girl with the long hair, and they pretty much go on a road trip. Not a road trip, but like a car chase. The cops bring in concrete to help. This was a lot of fun. But at the same time, it's like they show up in a squad car to pick up concrete, and he's like, well, this isn't going to work. You know, I weigh 800 pounds. They're like, oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't even think about it. I mean, because at this point, everybody knows who he is. Nobody really makes a big deal about it, but everybody knows who he is. That's the truck his buddy was in. This is my most recent pickup of concrete, I do believe. This is Killer Smile #3. And #4. Yeah. And I've seen more copies of Killer Smile than I think I have anything else. This is the Land and Sea special. So this reprints some earlier stories from wow, sorry, my nose itches. I think it's my beard. Dark Horse Presents, if I remember correctly. That'll take us to Strange Armor. I think I just finished this run, and this is still on my list of stuff to read. I put a lot of these books up before I had an opportunity to read them. My to-read pile was just getting ridiculous. But this is 3, 4, and 5. Not my favorite cover, but awesome nonetheless. Excuse me. And I know Scott X1307 is a big concrete fan as well, so maybe one day we'll get a chat going and we'll get a little bit more in-depth into concrete. Every time I see this cover, I think it's Jeff Darrow, just because of the level of detail in it, but this is actually Paul Chadwick. It's amazing. Issue 2. 3. No 4, sadly. 5. And 6. But yeah, those covers totally look like Paul Chadwick. And Scott just showed this off in one of his previous videos. So, if you guys are looking for something relatively inexpensive, but well worth the effort, I can't stress this enough. I know there's some stuff that I recommend that isn't for everybody. And I know that the people that do actually, go out and look for the stuff that I am suggesting, and it is just a suggestion. I've been getting a lot of, wow, that was great kind of stuff, feedback. But this is really something that I think everyone should have at least 1 or 2 stories, miniseries in their collection. Concrete is amazing. I mean, this is the character that more or less saved Dark Horse. I mean, the reason why we know Hellboy right now is because of Concrete. If it hadn't been for Concrete, then I don't think Dark Horse would have made it, and then we wouldn't have had the 30 plus years of amazing storytelling that we've been getting from those dudes. So, if you see this in the dollar bin, definitely pick it up. If you can track down a reasonably priced set on eBay, I would recommend it. But yeah, so this is my my ramble video on Concrete. I hope you liked it. Bye.